any further ado, we're going to bring in right now, live, the man himself, host of Wrestling With Regret. That is Regret with a W, none other than Brian Zane. Welcome.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate being on.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. Thank you. Now, we got to ask you, what do you want us to call you? Want us to call you Brian Zane? Nickname?
There's a few different names. You can call me Brian or Zane or whatever. Z-Man is the name I go by, not to be confused with Tom Zank. And for the record, I didn't pick that nickname. Someone else gave it to me and it stuck. So I'm not trying to rip off Tom Zank. So no disrespect to him. So Z-Man is the name I go by. But otherwise, it's Brian or Zane.
And it's a Gameboy?
Okay, well, Z-Man, that's what's up. Once again, thank you for coming on. My first question to you is probably something that a lot of people want to know is tell us about your business and how you got started and everything.
Well, Wrestling With Regret, for those of you listening to the audience who aren't aware, it is a YouTube show. It is kind of in the style of Angry Video Game Nerd or the Nostalgia Critic. It's that same kind of motif of nerdy-looking guy who makes fun of certain kind of genre of entertainment, and in my case, it's professional wrestling. And I kind of started the show back in June of 2013 because I was a big fan of shows like the ones I mentioned, Nostalgia Critic and the Video Game Nerd, and things like that. And there are whole websites dedicated and whole YouTube channels dedicated to that kind of thing, that kind of genre of critique. And I looked around, and there's stuff for movies, TV shows, music, comic books, anime, video games, you name it. There's someone out there dedicated to lampooning and critiquing, things like that in a comical manner. But I never saw anything like that about wrestling. And so I decided, well, I'll do it. Because at that point, I'd spent 7 years in the business as a wrestler and a manager. So I have some idea of what I'm talking about. And through being a fan for more than half my life and, doing stuff in the business, I've gathered a nice kind of understanding of the history and what wrestling means to a lot of people and what it means to me. And so I had my message and my mission statement. So I decided to, start working on the show, and then kind of snowballed from there. It took a couple of years to build a good fan base, but now the YouTube channel is 50,000 subscribers strong and growing. Season 5 just started, and we're on quite a roll now.
Oh, congratulations to you, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Doing great for that. Want to give a shout-out to community manager, the Chuckster. Here's the reason why, he told me about your show about a year ago about Wrestling With Regret. He didn't really tell me the actual name. He was like, hey, you got to check the show out. It's pretty cool. It talks about wrestling. And then he reminded me about it. Now, I've watched your show for a while. And then
Hello, Tech.
Hello? Oh, we lost the host.
Yeah, guys, we have a storm here in Baltimore, so we're having technical difficulties. But the feeling what he was saying is
the co-pilot's got to take over, take care of this this plane.
It's perfectly fine. But what he was saying was Chuck pretty much gave us the info about your show, which gave us a way to go back and elaborate and really get a chance to get a sense of who you are and the depth of the show. Well, I guess I'm the next question then. My next question is that some of the fans out there that you have gotten a chance to talk with, YouTube comments are crazy. Sometimes you get stalkers. Sometimes you get sincere comments and stuff. What are some of the obstacles that you had to go through in the beginning, starting a wrestling channel with so many opinions and so many egos?
Can y'all hear me?
Oh, he's back.
Oh, okay, he's back. All right.
Yeah, technical difficulties. You can continue to see. I'll finish.
Yeah, no problem. I was just asking the question.
Okay, so to answer your question, Gameboy, I guess the biggest obstacles I had with starting a channel, obviously, a lot of it was just getting the hardware for it, getting a camera, getting my editing software all to the best it could be and all that stuff. Make sure my computer was up to speed for it. And then really the hardest part when I started was just coming up with ideas and the writing. The writing by far is the most difficult part of this show. because I try and keep things interesting. I don't want to sound too smarky. I want to try and keep things accessible to as many people as possible, whether you're a wrestling fan or not, or whether you're a diehard or whether you're casual. I try and cover things that lots of wrestling fans can relate to and understand. Now, granted, most of the biggest depth of knowledge I have is pretty much starts at the Attitude Era and kind of dips down a little bit in the mid-2000s because that was an era we'd all like to forget, and then kind of coming back to the current era. And a lot of, and this might rub some people the wrong way, but the bulk of my knowledge comes from WWE because they're the biggest one. And that's, I started watching WCW, when I was starting to watch late 90s. I was going between both of them. So my knowledge on them is not that great, but it's mostly WWE. But so I know that pisses off a lot of people. It pisses off a lot of people who, I don't know too much about the 70s or much about ECW or much about Ring of Honor. But that's the thing, is just trying to come up with topics that you can make a lot of jokes about, topics that you can talk for more than 5 minutes at a time and say, and go beyond just saying, boy, that thing sure sucked. You have to explain why it sucked or why this thing was good or why it was bad. So really, it all comes down to just making the topic interesting and finding ways to elaborate on the blanket opinion of whether something is crap or not. So, yeah, that's pretty much the toughest part, and that's why I take breaks. I'm on my 5th season now, and it's very irregular. Basically, I go as far as I can go, come up with episodes until, it's a combination of I get burned out and, I need to spend time with my wife. So I take these breaks to relax a little bit from doing the full-length episodes.
Okay. Well, thank you, Z-Man. Tech, glad you're back with us. I'll go ahead and get back to you.
I do apologize for that. I was mentioning how, shout out to the Chuckster, our community manager, how he's one of the reasons why I heard about your show. I watched a few episodes, but I never could remember the name of it over a year ago. And then he showed me one of my favorite episodes about the Full Kids Federation, where these 4 kids that ran a wrestling promotion, and they had public access TVs. And yeah, if you can, share that video, share the story about that video, and let us know, is that some of your favorites, one of your favorite episodes?
Do you guys know what my favorites are?
Yes, tell us about that episode with the kids running the federation, and then let us know if that was one of your favorite episodes that you've done.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of, I do have, there's a special place in my heart for that episode, the NWF Kids Pro Wrestling episode. It was just one I kind of found by accident. It was one of the first episodes I ever did. It was when I was looking for subjects to talk about. On a whim, I went onto my local library catalog and looked up wrestling stuff. What kind of thought it's wrestling stuff? And I found this documentary, this NWF Kids Pro. What is that? This DVD. And I had to look at it. I had to watch it. And I watched it. I'm like, this is the best, worst thing I've ever seen in my life. So I had to review it. And so, yeah, it was just one of those weird things where it's you can't believe the things these kids got away with. And when you think about the way kids behave and the way kids are kind of sheltered today in this generation, the stuff that these kids in the NWF got away with, you could never do today, just for a myriad of reasons. So it's just one of those things where you kind of, it's kind of like watching in 2015, going back to watching Goldust and Ahmed Johnson fight in the ring. And you see some of the stuff Goldust was doing, I cannot believe they got away with doing this. How did they do this without inciting a riot? But it's the same thing when you watch this NWF Kids stuff. These kids, the guy in charge, Sean Crossan, had this idea, and he was an entrepreneur, and he made a show of it. He went and got syndicated on public access, and he ran armory shows. Who is this kid? How do they do this? So that was kind of, it was just I was in awe of it. I kind of come off kind of ragging them every once in a while in the video, but it really comes from a place of respect because, oh my God, I can't believe they did this thing. It's absolutely nuts. And the best part about having done that video was Sean Crossan himself, the guy who founded NWF back in the mid-'80s, found the video and he liked it. And so I thought that was really cool. And now I interviewed him for the opener of my season 2 a couple years ago. He was a cool guy to talk to. and he occasionally chimes in on the comment section of that video when people have questions. So it's kind of cool that he's kind of adopted this video as kind of like secondary education to the NWF story, because he runs like the NWF website and has a Hall of Fame and everything. It's it's kind of cool. So that is one of my favorites. That.
Oh, okay.
Well, thank you for that. Now, of course, we gotta go the opposite way. What's some of your least favorite episodes that you've done? Of course, we all been doing this for a good number of years, and there's always one or two episodes that didn't pan out as well as you thought.
Yeah, it's hard to say it was a least favorite episode. I love them all like children. I love them all equally. There are some that weren't as successful as I hoped they would be. I did an editorial earlier this year about the need, what I think is a need, or it should be opened up to debate, about a wrestling union. And that really fell on deaf ears. Obviously it's one of those things where it's like, unless you're in the business, you don't really have a grasp of what being a full-time wrestler is like. I'm not saying I don't feel like either. I'm a weekend warrior at best, but I've been doing it for so long. I kind of like, and I know plenty of people who have gone on to the next level. And talking with them, it was kind of hearing the stories and like listening to both arguments for and against a union. I thought this could be a kind of interesting topic, and that one didn't get received as much as I'd like. The kayfabe kitchen stuff that I've been putting out the last few months, that's been kind of polarizing. People either love it or they hate it. Most people don't.
We enjoy
most people haven't. Yeah, most people haven't subscribed to the cooking shows. I'm not afraid to admit. I'm just trying to think back to all the episodes I've done. I'm trying to think like, well, which ones don't I like, or which ones do I wish could have gone better? Like, I don't know. It's tough to pick something like that. Because there's some episodes I don't expect to go anywhere, and then they blow up, like the Mike and Maleficent Love Machine, the very first video I did of him when it was like Tough Enough Audition. That went pseudo-viral, and that was kind of like a throwaway thing I cooked up in a day. And it's kind of interesting the way those things turn out. And the one I did last season about the video, the board game, the Wrestling Madness board game, I kind of wish.
That was great. Yeah.
Yeah, it was an interesting concept. It was kind of I've never done a board game review before, so I kind of wish that one turned out okay, but it was kind of a meh kind of episode overall. It was tough to find good jokes for that one, and the same thing kind of goes with the one thing I wish I'd done better was the video I did recently where I reviewed 2K16. Like I wanted to get the video out there. I want to get the video out there because I got on launch day. I only had like 4 hours to play it before like I had to go. Be a husband and a dad again. I took time off work to do it. So, like, I basically played as much as I could, with a little bit of time to get a feel of, like, the gameplay and the graphics, which to me are the two most important parts of a wrestling game. To me, all, like, the creation mode, that's, like, the next one, but then everything else, all those little, like, career modes and universe modes are kind of like tertiary modes to me. So, in my opinion, when I was making the review, I thought I was doing a good job with the review. Because I got, the basic premise. But, in hindsight, I wish I had more time to put together things after I'd done the creation mode and done the universe mode and everything, so it could be more fleshed out review. Because it was very bare bones. I addressed only a couple things, and people didn't really like that. It was so one person commented it was the equivalent of reading the first couple chapters of the book and then doing a review on the book. But it's one of those things where if like I wanted to do a review on it, I only had this limited amount of time to do it. If I made a review only after I played the requisite number of hours to truly get a feel of all the modes, that review wouldn't have come out until like January. So
True.
I just wanted to get it out there. It was just one of those things like I was trying to be first, not best, or most accurate. Which is something I try and, which is something I've learned is not a good thing all the time. So, those are probably the ones I kind of regret to doing, pun intended.
Well, Saltine, you with us?
Yes, sir. I am.
Well, Saltine, while we on the topics of video games and wrestling, let Z-Man know about your thoughts of 2K15 last year. And let him know what you did.
All right. I got the 2K15 on the first day when it came out, so I was excited because it was a new wrestling game come out. So when I played it, right, I was playing it to the story mode. That's the only thing I really did. But as soon as I got in the game, it was so much missing elements on the game. Plus, when I tried to start the NXT mode, it kind of like deleted my data, and I was like, "What the fuck happened to my data?" And I was about to start that, and then I wasn't going to start over again. I'd be damned if I do that. So I basically took that thing the next day to game to say, okay, you can take this back. And guess what? Yeah, $25 as usual. They would ask for the game back, and I just got the damn game.
GameStop is a mofo.
Yeah, it is.
And that's the reason I didn't get 15, because I read all the horror stories about all the features they took away from it. Like, for the first game in the current generation consoles, I was kind of shocked they took away all of the good meaty bits that everyone liked. So I waited until they put them all back for 16, which I thought they would anyway. And I still, as of this interview, I still haven't had a whole lot of time to go beyond. I haven't really done anything beyond create a wrestler and create an entrance. And the only creative wrestler I've made is one of myself, which is tradition for me. So I haven't had a chance, and I've seen some crazy stuff on YouTube. I've seen some wild-ass creative wrestlers, and it's just kind of cool to see that's how creative you can be. It's kind of there's almost no limit to your imagination in those games. But yeah, I'd love to spend more time to work on that game, but it's just an issue. It's like, well, I have this show to work on, so I can't really. I have a day job, and it's just one of those things. How do you juggle all those different hours in the day?
Yeah, we have lives.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone can, we don't have every time in the day to do, like we was kids all day playing the game or doing stuff like that.
You already know how that is.
And see, Gameboy, Z-Man, he's a professional gamer. So speaking, while we're on the topic of video games, Z-Man, what would you feel is the best wrestling video game?
Well, that's a tough one. I mean, I think a lot of people, off the top of my head, I have to say No Mercy. That's kind of my favorite wrestling game I've ever played. And, Here Comes the Pain is a fun one. That's the thing. That's the second one everyone picks. Like, usually when I see people's top threes of wrestling games, it's in varying orders. It's Here Comes the Pain, WrestleMania 2000, and No Mercy. The more I thought, I kind of liked Revenge a lot too. But the bulk of my video game wrestling game playing was in the N64 days. That's kind of where I started becoming a wrestling fan, was through a friend of mine and I playing World Tour. And neither of us were wrestling fans, but we rented it one weekend and we were hooked. And that's kind of how I started getting into wrestling, was through that game. But the N64 game, the N64 games hold a special place in my heart. As far as stuff after that, yeah, I'd probably have to say I'd say SmackDown 2 and SmackDown, Here's the Pain. Shut Your Mouth, that was a good one. That was the first PS2 one, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
I believe it was the last, and I know fans will correct me on this. I believe Shut Your Mouth is the last WWE game that featured 8 people in the ring at one time. Because after that, you only can put 6.
Maybe you're right.
Remember they used to have them survival matches, 4-on-4. They used to have the rumbles and be 8 people in the ring at once. And after that, they cut it down to 6. And then I guess now it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So, shout out. Another game that's really good, give a shout out, it's called Fire Pro Wrestling Returns. It's on the PS2, Z-Man. One of my all-time favorites. Have you played that?
Yeah. I played it once with a friend of mine who was it was literally the night or two before he moved. He and I one night, shared a bottle of Crown Royal and started playing Fire Pro Wrestling Returns. And that was fun.
Crown Royal on games.
I
said Crown Royal on games. That's how you do it.
Yeah. It's a pretty good combination. So, yeah, I mean, the game doesn't hold as much significance to me because it was a game I never really played. But I understand why people like it because of the vast roster and the customization of the gameplay. But, yeah, I mean, ultimately, No Mercy is the one I was probably the best at. No Mercy and Here Comes the Pain were the ones that I actually knew how to play really well.
Game Boy?
I have to agree. I didn't play Here Comes the Pain, but No Mercy is definitely one of my favorites. And I think my other favorite is like Monday Night Raw, back on the Genesis and Super Nintendo days. They had hidden moves. Every character had a hidden move that you would do if you're getting ready to be pinned. It's kind of like an emergency move you can do. And WrestleMania, the arcade game, because hearing Vince McMahon yelling and Jerry the King, the commentating by itself was just monumentous. And then the gameplay was so zany and the action was so crazy and stuff. You know, Undertaker shooting out ghosts and hitting people with tombstones, and you know, Shawn Michaels with sweet chin music, you'll flip and do spins in the air and stuff. It was just, you know, like zany action. So, but the pinnacle, I still think, is No Mercy. You know, I think that it got all the elements correct, and you know, the roster back at that time was just phenomenal. So, I have to agree with you on that one.
I'm gonna share some breaking news with you guys. It's a sneak peek. You guys are the first ones to hear about this. You know, No Mercy is going to play heavily into a very special video I have coming out next week. I can't really go into more details than that.
Breaking news.
But yeah, so there you guys heard it here first.
Thank you.
So something No Mercy related is happening, actually a week from today. So you guys get the scoop on that one. So that's so it's funny we're talking about No Mercy now, but yeah.
Oh, that's
well, we gotta give a shout out to Virtual Pro Wrestling, the Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, the originators of the Aki engine. It had the whole Japan cast here, New Japan, All Japan. Those have to be up there.
Yep, WrestleFest.
Yeah, definitely gotta get up there. Oh yeah, you're right, Saltine. WrestleFest, one of the best ones too.
Yep.
Especially the arcade.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Still one of the great. Who would have thought WrestleMania, the arcade game, a game that's 20 years old, had better commentary than all of the current games today?
Yeah.
I'll be amazed. I'll be amazed if commentary ever gets any better, because it's it's funny because most sports commentary games and commentary in sports games aren't very good. But after having played WWE games for so long, to hear commentary on any other game is kind of a breath of fresh air. Like, you know, Phil Simms and Jim Nantz are soulless robots when they call NFL games live.
Exactly.
They're the worst. But when you listen to them on the new Madden game, it sounds like it's like, oh my gosh, it's a real game. They sound amazing. So I'm so used to dry robotic reads from Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler that hearing them on Madden 16 was great.
In the commentary on your match, I was playing 2K14 or whatever it was. I like you, Z-Man. I didn't purchase 2K15. That is the only wrestling game in years I purposely didn't purchase because I heard so bad about it. Then you be Stone Cold doing the stunner. Oh my gosh, the pedigree. Triple H ain't in the match.
Yeah.
and for me, what really gets me is the developers, and yes, I'm getting on THQ or Ukes, whoever owns it now, 2K Sports. They're so lazy because, this is what I do. When I get the WWE games, since they're the only wrestling game out now, I'll go through the whole move sets, and I'll change moves because people have moves and move sets don't even do. Why does Booker T have a jackknife powerbomb as a regular move? It doesn't make sense. Why is Triple H? I see, the Triple H do like a shin breaker or like a double arm DDT. What? He don't do that once. Trust me. You had the 2K16 game, man. You get a chance whenever you can. Go through the move set of any of the wrestlers, and I guarantee you, there's at least 2 or 3 moves in there that they don't do in real life.
Yeah.
They're like, what the
I'm sure there is.
Well, let's move on because I have another question I want to get to Z, man. I know time's getting short. With the success of your show and everything, when was it when you finally knew that you kind of reached that level where you had a significant fan base? I know you got your subscribers and stuff, of course, but there's always that moment. It's that show or that comment or just that feeling that you got when you just like, okay, I made it,
Well, that's as as nice as it feels to have as many subscribers as I do, I don't really feel like I've made it yet. I still want to keep pushing to get more. I don't consider it a competition. Like, the channel most people compare me to is What Culture WWE. Adam from that channel doing his How They Should Have Booked It and all this stuff. And he's doing a great job, and he may have like 4 times as many subscribers as I do, and that's great for them. I don't try and I'm not going to try and compete with them. They can do their own thing, I can do my thing, and people can decide who they want to be affiliated with or who they watch. People power, But it's like, I feel like the first time I did a video that like really hit a chord with people was earlier this year when, on a whim, I decided to make my Cornette Gets It Wrong video. Because that took off in a way I never would have expected. Because, at that time I was just hitting around like 2,000 subscribers. 2 years in, I finally got 2,000 subscribers, which I thought was a big deal at the time. Then I did that, and suddenly that video just blew up because Jim Cornette himself saw it. He tweeted it. He said it was an amazing video. So that got a lot of cred. Then the video was upvoted to #1 on Reddit Squared Circle, which you're a big deal if you get voted to #1 on that subreddit. It was just this crazy like wave of momentum. And around that time, I had also signed up with a multi-channel network, Screenwave Media. Shout out to them. They helped kind of optimize my exposure, my visibility. And so all these stars kind of aligned following the Cornette video, and like the top 8 were heel turns and all this stuff, and it just like ballooned from there. So like earlier, as summer began, I was at 2,000 subscribers. Now, as we get into mid-November, I'm at 50,000 plus. So it's just taken off in a way I never would have expected. And I keep trying. I'm still trying to get there. I'm still trying to get a little higher up because 50,000 is great, but I know I can get better.
You gotta go past. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm not trying to get all the subscribers in the world, but it's like it's just cool to have a fan base and have people like contact me and write and comment and tell me like, oh man, your channel's so awesome. I get a lot of crap comments too. A lot of people are very negative and stuff, and that's fine because that's YouTube, that's the internet. But it's a really cool feeling to know that there's this whole football stadium of people that who I don't know. These aren't all my friends. I didn't harass all my friends to like this stuff. All these people found my channel and it resonates with them. That's just a cool feeling to have a sense of kind of like community and kind of being like the nucleus of that is an amazing feeling.
Well,
that is great.
You made it and doing something great, and we can attest to this, me and this Gameboy, where we have our show and people come to us and what do you know, and you have this guy on the show, and and people, you have your stuff posted on websites, and we have sources just like anyone else, and we know a lot of the boys and girls, of course. Shout out to the female wrestlers, and people get mad at us, and it's like we know what we're talking about. We're in the business. We're not wrestlers, but we're media. We do stuff, and you have the marks that comment on interviews. Where do they know, and why is so-and-so saying this? And one of the videos that really jumped high, NSC Gameboy can attest to this, is what we did about Virgil. And I'll let NSC Gameboy do a quick synopsis, teasing man about our experience with Virgil.
That was one of the times actually TMZ got on it too, from what I was told. We met Mike Jones at a wrestling show promotion, and he was buggy out of his mind, and he told us that he was going to charge us $15,000 for an interview. And at which the point I asked him, was he smoking crack? Because no one really know who Virgil is unless you're a really, really hardcore wrestler, let alone paying $15,000, for an interview. You feel me? I can see the greats, Sting, Flair, Hogan, Shawn Michaels, Rock, Austin, I see these people, I can understand. But for someone like Virgil, it was kind of like a slap in the face. So we did a show.
The funny thing about that though is like you could laugh at him and say he's smoking crack for doing that, but you know he could be approached by 100 people for an interview, and you could tell all 100 of them it's going to cost you $15,000, and 99 of them could say no, but he might luck out and have one person say yes. So, you know, it's just one of those things where you keep digging until you strike oil. So
yeah, if you play devil's advocate and stuff, I guess you can look at it that way. But the extra insult was that we found out that another show that we're great friends with, and he charged them $1,000 to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not knocking his hustle because, I mean, hey, you know, you got to do what you got to do. You know, everybody got a mortgage. You feel me? But it's just the way that he came off. It was more comedic than serious. And to us, it was just like, wow. And then we just start hearing all these stories that he had made people pay when they didn't want to pay. Fans was just upset. Kids was upset at things that he would say. He would lie and everything.
Taking pictures and then charging them later.
Yeah, he'll take the picture with you, and then he'll charge you for the picture that he asked to take with you. Like, you know, fans, wrestling fans, we're not stupid. You know, of course, they see people that they like, or they see on TV, or they used to like when they was a kid or whatever, and you know they gravitate toward it and everything. But you know, a lot of people, you know, when you're desperate, you know when you see somebody and they just kind of strike you as odd and a little bit off. Shout out to Ted DiBiase. He came on our show a few weeks after Diamond really came on, and he kind of elaborated a little bit, and pretty much just wanted to pray for him and hope that he gets some help, because he's been hearing a lot of things that was going on with him that really was just
I have some breaking news. There's some breaking news just
breaking
now.
News, folks.
Yeah,
news.
from a source. You heard it here first. Just got a text. Undertaker and Kane will be in a 2-1-2 tag match at Survivor Series, and it's going to be against two Y family members Bray chooses.
Oh, that's kind of lame. Really?
What?
Yep. Breaking news. Just got it from one of my sources. Thank you, anonymous source.
That's disappointing if true, because everyone and their mom could see coming that you've got to have the 4-on-4, you've got to have Survivor Series match on the show that Taker debuted on 5 years ago. He can't have a tag match. What is that about?
Yeah, that's
and the fact that Bray himself
won't
be in the match is kind of insulting.
Yeah, that really is.
Won't be in it.
Yeah.
Well,
boo.
Yeah, that's not even breaking news. That's just sad. That's sad news.
That's heartbreaking news.
Speaking of sad news, and I want to ask you, the last few years of the WWE has been big roller coaster, like most of wrestling, but mostly on the downside. A lot of the fans have been really unhappy. They've been turning on to Ring of Honor, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Lucha Underground, a lot of new promotions coming up. TNA still in the fight somewhere, somehow. And, WWE has really kind of lost its way. Most of the champions that they've had who've had the belt, a lot of these guys are former Ring of Honor guys, and a lot of fans are saying, like, they can't really manufacture their own champions anymore. So I would like to know your opinion of the state of WWE right now, with the Undertaker losing the streak and CM Punk leaving, and of course this year with the Daniel Bryan had to leave and retire, and a lot of the guys are hurt and severe damage, Seth Rollins and everything. I just wanted to know your opinion about the state of the WWE right now.
Well, it's funny you mentioned how, some fans will be turned off to WWE and go to, like, Ring of Honor or New Japan. Some wrestling fans who are WWE fans and get tired of that stuff will just quit watching wrestling. That's the ultimate bad thing to happen, because there are some people who, aren't either not interested or not aware of the other avenues out there. They just leave wrestling altogether. That's what's sad. But as far as like the current state of WWE, I think we can all agree it's not as good as it could be, as it has been. The rash of injuries wrestlers go through, like Seth Rollins, Daniel Bryan, all these wrestlers we all like being hurt. It's just this perfect storm of the wrestlers we like either being underutilized or being hurt. The wrestlers we don't like, or the people we feel who are too manufactured, being artificially pushed. And just the specter, or just the knowledge that there is better wrestling out there. There's something to compare it to and say, hey, this is dumb. It's just one of those things where it's like, how often does this have to happen? How long does this have to go on before you realize that WWE has just become self-aware and apathetic to what they are producing? The whole thing has been, well, since there's no competition anymore, they can just kind of act willy-nilly and do what they want. And to an extent, that's true, because a lot of the time, except for like from January to April, you can just tell they're on autopilot. They just coast all year long. And the thing is, with the wrestlers who we see having these huge injuries, and the fact that a lot of them are former Ring of Honor guys, it almost, I'm almost wondering, I'm just kind of thinking out loud here, is there a correlation between the high-impact, indie-rific, quote-unquote, style of wrestling that we see today in the Indies and the Ring of Honor as they transition to WWE? Is that style, it's not sustainable enough for a full-time WWE schedule. Like, the whole story of Daniel Bryan, the reason he kept getting hurt, he kept pushing himself, right, as far as the way he took bumps and the things he did. He's trying to kill himself out there. It's amazing Dolph Ziggler still wrestles the way he takes bumps for as long as he's been doing it. It's just, it's this high-impact, shoot-esque kind of style, as opposed to the wrestlers who would work, 10, 20, 30 years in the business, during the territories and in the 90s, basically, people who wrestled a certain slower pace and by and large went through injury-free and were able to have much longer careers. I think that has a lot to do with the way kayfabe is and the way wrestling.
Well, what about Flair?
And so wrestlers today have to basically kill themselves out there to prove to the doubter fans that what they're doing has stakes. But as far as when they get all their talent from places like Evolve and Ring of Honor, that's all well and good, because you're starting to see that more hard-hitting style that the adult fans seem to like translate onto a main stage. But that has consequences, because that is a very short-term style of wrestling. It's not sustainable for a 5-day-a-week schedule that WWE wrestlers have. So you got to wonder what they have to do. I think there's a lot of things they could do to improve. One is try and better incorporate the slower pace. They're doing that now, obviously, but if there's some way they could do that and make it more, I don't want to say homogenized, because that's boring. I don't want it to be homogenized, but it's the wrestlers have to do something to slow down and not kill themselves and not hurt themselves in the ring. It's also a combination of the rest of the writers having to listen to the fans, because there's a difference between trying to push your agenda and building it around the opinions of people and trying to take the feedback you're getting and build around that. There's a difference between that and just steamrolling, saying whatever, who cares what the fans think, we're going to do it this way and they're going to like it, which is kind of the route they've been taking for the last several years, where they don't really give a damn what the fans think. They have to be more perceptive of what the fans think. I'm not saying, because the fans are fickle, and sometimes wrestlers will get massive pops in one place and they'll get no reaction in the next. That's kind of a town thing, but they have to have kind of a finger on the pulse of what the audience is saying, and and just go off that. And I know merch sales have a lot to do with it as well. If they can listen to their fans, and they have to come up with better writing. Even if they don't listen to their fans and push a certain agenda, at least have the stories make sense. At least have the promos not sound like they were written by a 10-year-old. They have to step up their writing too. For all the wealth of writers they have from Hollywood, you would think that they would all know how to write coherent storylines. But I guess the fact they're not in Hollywood anymore tells you that they can't.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Hollywood and wrestling are two different things.
Yes.
Exactly. Hollywood's produced in a bubble. It's focus groups. It's, it's very, and for lack of a better word, it's very incestuous. It's very, buddy, and like wrestling's like that too. Wrestling's a huge network as well. It's all about connections and stuff as well. But I feel when you try and take the Hollywood sensibility and you try and put in a carny atmosphere of wrestling, it's not a good combination. It's just one of those things where you look at it and you know what the winning formula is. You know how it works. You see the people who've had success over the years in terms of like booking and promoting and writing. I'm not saying never change from that model. I'm not saying let's stay the same way for 100 years, because then you don't evolve that way. Green you grow, not you rot. But there has to be some kind of middle ground between, just totally reinventing the wheel when it comes to writing wrestling storylines, and there has to be some connection between that and just the way it's worked.
With that being said, Z-Man, great points that you made. We have a caller.
All right.
Bringing now Angry Mark. Welcome.
Guys, I had to put down my goddamn beer. I heard all this shit going on about Kane and Undertaker, Bray Wyatt, non-traditional match, just a tag team match, and I must say, talk about a goddamn letdown. I was hoping to see a traditional 5-on-5 match, bring up some of the young talent or some of the younger guys on the current rosters, put them on the apron with Kane and Undertaker as a way to get them over. And now we're just going to deal with more of this bullshit with the Wyatt family who, Jesus, even if they win, they're still not over. I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Because, I only got a couple minutes here, and now I got to go back to my angry wife because she's popping me open another 6-pack.
Well, like I was saying, it's a huge letdown. I think, it's the easiest thing to do would be to write an outcome in which it's a traditional Survivor Series match. I mean, you're at Survivor Series. Why wouldn't you have a Survivor Series match? Are you telling me it's that hard to produce two more people on the Kane and Undertaker side? I mean, I know there's no one that really makes sense, but just for the sake of having the match, like, find two people. I mean, you already have a bunch of people freed up now they're not in the tournament anymore. So I just don't understand why they wouldn't do that. And that means that Kane and Undertaker have to work twice as hard, because we know that neither of them are spring chickens anymore. We've seen their age, although Undertaker's looking a lot better now this year than he did last year. And Kane is Kane. He's totally slowed down. I don't think he's still a safe hand, but it's hard to watch him now. So now you have two of these guys who are in the twilight of their careers, having to try and keep up with 2 of 4 individuals who are young, and in the case of Braun Strowman, kind of unsafe. He's a little sloppy, big hoss, and it's just like they have to work twice. It's like if you had 2 extra partners, they would shoulder the burden, and then Undertaker and Kane would get their spots in. They do very minimal work, and everyone would go home happy. So now you've got this thing where they have to do double the work, and it's going to be it's a really lame. If this is the payoff, it's a very lame payoff. Very bad way to celebrate Undertaker's 25 years.
I mean, just my perspective here. I mean, they're missing a great chance here to bring up Finn Balor. His gimmick fits with the whole, evil. It's not like he's a heel, but I'm just saying. I mean, the face paint, the whole thing going on, and then you lose an opportunity for him. And the next thing you know, now we got to deal with creative now coming up with more vignettes on Raw and some shitty endings, and maybe Bray Wyatt gets pulled down through the mat and they puff some smoke up, and it's just getting monotonous, guys. But I don't know. I mean, Gameboy, what's your thoughts?
I'm pretty much at all, because I figured that this would be a good time for them to bring out Sting and maybe have Sting in the match, and maybe Sting turn on The Undertaker to set up for WrestleMania. Finn Balor, has been a good time for him to come up there. Hell, I would even see the Boogeyman, and just any way for this to be an anniversary for this to be the significance and how the WWE is pumping in their marketing is telling us, this is the Undertaker's 25th anniversary of Survivor Series when he debuted it and everything, to make it a tag match, something that you could watch on Raw or then at SmackDown, it's displeasing all around the board. There's no way you can win out of this. And it's just showing just how desperate the WWE is, which is a chance for them to really give back to the fans, but they just continue to lose touch, and it's really getting out of hand. It really is.
You do realize by putting The Undertaker, Sting, Kane, and the Boogeyman all on one side of the ring, that's like 210 years of experience. Holy shit. I think WrestleMania and Survivor Series will be sponsored by Icy Hot and Metamucil.
Oh, don't forget tough acting and acting. Anybody use that? What you say, Z-Man?
No.
But guys, I just had to call in, bitch a little bit. I gotta get in. I gotta see my wife. It was an honor to be on here, but I gotta do a little self-promotion. If you want to hear more from Angry Mark, check me out, 7 o'clock Thursday night, Blog Talk Radio.
Yes, Wrestling Black and White. All right, Angry Mark, thank you.
Great show, by the way. Great show.
Thank you. Everybody, was Angry Mark, my other co-host.
Why are you so angry?
Live, 7 p.m.
Why is he so angry?
Angry Mark and Meat Sack, dissecting and ripping apart pro wrestling as it is. Z-Man, tough acting, enacting, Icy Hot, Metamucil. Any other, is there anything else you could think that sponsors Survivor Series and WrestleMania for wrestlers that's 50 years and older?
And the list kind of goes on. You could do Depends, Dentasure. Who else? What am I forgetting?
AARP.
Yeah, AARP.
Yeah, guy had insurance.
Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Medicaid.
Medicare.
For the old FL class, at least I crap my pants.
Sure.
Yeah.
Adjustable canes.
Dentures.
Does this really just shows just how out of touch the WWE is becoming? That they have pumped this up ever since Hell in a Cell. That they did the whole thing with the Wyatts coming in. Then they did the whole things with Kane and the Wyatts. For them all to pump this up for a tag match, really? Like,
no, man, that should be cool. Do a show, mention us, and just talk about all the different ways WWE, all the different tools and different companies that can sponsor WWE, Survivor Series, and WrestleMania. Since all of the wrestlers that make money are 50 years and older.
Exactly. It's one of those things where it's like, it's something I want to talk about in the future of my show, but it's a thing where it's like, how much longer can they think they can depend on, for lack of a better word, depend on these, older wrestlers from a previous generation? It's like they spent so little time investing in the future, and that's where the problem they see themselves in now, because Seth Rollins is hurt. They don't have any other good people ready to put in the main event. Like, how can they do that? Like, spend so little time building the future and keep going back to dip into their legends pool.
Mm-hmm. How many times have we seen these people? Like, now John Cena is going to come back. Yeah, John Cena is going to come back again. $100 billion times. Oh, yeah.
Gotta bring Captain 4 Kids back.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
You have to. What are your thoughts, Zane? I'm sorry, Z-Man, on Captain 4 Kids, John Cena.
Wait. What are my thoughts on what?
What are your thoughts on John Cena? We call him Captain 4 Kids. He's for the kids.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on?
Well, on Cena, I think he's a tremendous worker. I think he's evolved a lot. He got a lot better in the ring in the last several years. It's too bad it took him so long in the main events for him to finally be the worker that his spot on the card reflected. But I think he, when he was doing the U.S. Open Challenge thing, he was one of the more interesting matches on the card. And it's, there's still the whole ho-hum predictability of him winning all the time. That's the one thing. I mean, I'll defend him as a worker, but I just don't like the way he's been booked. The whole LOL Cena wins meme. It's a true story, and it's hard when you see someone who's been like. It's one thing when you saw Hulk Hogan win all the time. He was very well protected in his prime, but that was in the 80s. But now you're in the it's the 2010s, and people don't want to see one guy at the top all the time anymore. And that's like, every other company, good or bad, has figured that out. No one's hitched their wagon to one guy so long, so agonizingly long, as WWE has for John Cena. And it's like you can't just. On the other hand, you can't just say, "Well, Cena, we got to move on. Get your ass to the curb." You can't just treat a loyal hand like that. So you find yourself in this really awkward position, like, well, he's still breathing. Let's keep using him. He's still relatively healthy. Let's keep using him.
He still has a pulse.
Still making us money.
He's not dead yet. We can still use him. Well, I want to give a quick mention to Afrocentric Queen, who did say, remember, card subject is to change. So there's a possibility that WWE might change their mind and make it a traditional Survivor Series match.
That's true. We could be getting work here. We don't know. We could be making a whole big stink out of nothing right now.
Yeah, it's a great job of Day. They always give you something to talk about.
It is. Well, at this time, we want to have you, Z-Man, do what we call a plug party. Before we let you go ahead, plug away everything you need to, your websites, your YouTube, social media, your next event, your next video. Let all of our listeners know.
Yeah, well, the YouTube channel, it's Wrestling With Regret. Regret spelled with a W because I love alliteration. And there's the YouTube channel. There's the Facebook page, so facebook.com/Wrestling With Regret. My Twitter handle is @ZmanBrianZane. My T-shirts are for sale at ProWrestlingTees.com/Wrestling With Regret. The next episode coming down the pike this week is episode 2 of season 5, and it's a review of the infamous, legendary, made-for-TV biopic of Jesse the Body Ventura, which came out just after he became governor of Minnesota. It didn't get Jesse Ventura's blessing. It was made without his input and without the rights to his life story, and brother, it shows. That's all I'm going to tell you as far as the preview. You just have to see the review. If you haven't seen this movie before and you want to get an idea of how bad it is, you just got to see the review. It comes out Thursday morning on YouTube.
All right.
We definitely will check it out. Z-Man, it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. We'll definitely keep promoting your show as always. Hopefully you can give us a shout-out on your show, too, and hopefully we can have you back on for the sequel.
You bet. Can't wait. Thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it.
All right,
Thanks
man.
a lot,
Thank you,
man. Take care of yourself, man, and keep up with the videos, man. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
No problem. Take care.
Everybody, that was Z-Man, Brian Zane, host of Wrestling With Regret. That is Regret with a W. Great show on YouTube. Please check it out. Just to give everybody an update, our next guest, Ryan Satan, we'll be calling him momentarily. Right now he's having issues right now with his cell phone service and a signal, so Ron Satan will be calling in momentarily. But NXT Gameboy, Saltine, your thoughts of Z-Man?
Well, I think he was a great guest, very informative. I liked his opinions. I liked the history of him on the games, No Mercy, of course. And, he pretty much said, he only talks about mostly WWE because it is the biggest company. I got a chance to do a little bit of research before he came on the show. His show is very funny, very humorous. It was a good guest, and really glad to have him. Saltine, what you thought?
Very great guest. He was very informational about the past WrestleManias and past video games we played, or we had problems with some games like WWE 2K15. Ugh, I can't believe I waste money on that. But yeah, he even put a shout out to Video Game Nerd and other people that's doing shows like this, and it's amazing that he doing the show like them, and hope we see more of him soon.
Yes, I have to agree. The sequel will be coming, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes, the sequel. I definitely do love Z-Man's work. Definitely do. And I can't wait to see his next video that he has coming up. That he did give us breaking news. Will be featuring No Mercy. So you can't wait. Now, while we wait for Ryan Satan to call, we're gonna bring in a very special caller real quick for about